Loki has already died in the Avengers movie, Infinity War, but the story is not finished there. Loki from another timeline is still adventuring in an important mission featuring himself from another universe. Welcome to the Simple Movie channel, and here is the complete plot of the first season of Loki series that we will deliver from episode to episode. It was from this series that the multiverse was first introduced and then deepened in the What If series. Make sure you click the subscribe button for those who haven't, and if so, here is the full video. The second episode opens by showing the city of Oshkosh, Wisconsin in 1985, where it was very crowded because a celebratory party was being held. Not long after, came the police force of the time, aka Minutemen. They came to this year to chase a fleeing variant. The Minutemans then entered into a special room after following the signs from the detectors they were carrying. Once inside, the Minuteman leader named C-20 was suddenly touched by someone who mysteriously made his mind controlled. The commander of the army then attacked his own soldier until he finally passed out. The mysterious variant then arrives and defeats the last army. He then picked up a time reset bomb and also a tool for switching timelines. Not to forget, he also kidnapped the commander of the C-20. On the other hand, Loki is seen working inside the TVA office. She was hosted by Miss Minute reviewing the Nexus event. The terrible fact is that if the timeline branches off and crosses the red line, then the Nexus event will occur where the TVA is unable to reset the timeline. As a result, the destruction of the timeline will occur and reality will collapse. Loki, who was tired of this, then threw away Miss Minute until she returned to the monitor screen. A moment later, Mobius came and warned there was an attack that had just taken place. Loki was then asked to wear a special jacket from TVA for variants who were willing to cooperate. The briefing was then carried out. Mobius slightly showed various types of Loki who had been captured and destroyed by TVA. But the variant they are hunting is still mysterious, and which form Loki is in, they still don't know. Loki then prepares to carry out his first mission. And if he works well, then the opportunity to meet the Timekeeper is approaching. They then went to the location. According to the initial information just now, inside that location, they only saw the helmet of the C-20 commander lying on the ground. Here Loki starts talking to deceive the TVA. He said other Loki variants were already outside to trap them. Loki claims to know the plan of this variant, where he wants to destroy the TVA headquarters. Therefore, Loki wants them to take him to meet the Timekeepers in person so that they can warn them. Time is increasingly wasted by Loki's babbling, while the branching timeline is getting closer and closer to the red line. Realizing what Loki did was a boast and there was no variant outside, they then went from there and reset the timeline time. This is so that the time that has happened is back to the way it was before the TVA arrived, so that the Nexus event never happened. Upon returning, Mobius then faced Ravonna Renslayer. The woman was a little angry that Mobius failed to catch Loki's escaped variant. In addition, Mobius' choice to invite Loki on a mission is something that is contrary to TVA's goals so far. But Mobius still insists that if they invite Loki, then the hunt for the variant will pay off. Mobius then exited the room and Loki came to him. Loki then reasoned that his boasting was the first example Mobius had to accept to learn how to deal with Loki. Mobius himself didn't care about Loki's attempted deception, he just wanted Loki to help TVA to catch a variant of himself wandering somewhere. Mobius then ordered Loki to start working. Loki is asked to read a file related to his fuzzy variant and must find a solution using a unique perspective of himself. While the Mobius hurried away for a lunch break, Loki began to sit at his desk reading the file. Because he felt that he lacked information, he went to one of the workers in the archives to ask about important files. Loki wants to know the beginning of the creation of TVA and also the beginning of the creation of time. But the woman refused to provide the related file Loki requested because it was confidential. Instead, Loki is given a complete file of a variant of himself who is now a TVA fugitive. Then Loki started reading the dossier about his case, and he was sad after reading the file regarding Ragnarok. The destruction of Asgard involved 9,000 casualties. But he came up with a brilliant idea after reading this file. Loki reveals to Mobius that he has a theory where the variant they are after is in a place where there is an apocalypse in it. Loki demonstrates his theory by using Mobius' lunch salad. The point is that whatever the variant is in a location where there is an apocalypse in it, it will not cause Nexus events to occur. Their deeds in the timeline will however be greeted with an apocalypse. So the result is the same, that the timeline will not branch because it will eventually be destroyed as well. Finally, Mobius and Loki tested this theory. They headed to Pompeii, Italy in 79 AD, the place where a violent explosion from the mountain Vesuvius would occur. Loki then yelled and warned all the residents there in the light. He said he came from TVA in the future to warn the volcano behind them would explode immediately. And Loki's theory proved to be correct. Mobius looked into a device called Temped and no branches came out close to the red line. With this, whatever variant is in a location with an apocalypse in it won't give rise to Nexus, and TVA can't figure out their location. Now it's just one step away from finding the location of the apocalypse that was used as a hiding place by the Loki variant. Mobius has an idea where he is given candy by a small child from the previous episode. While Mobius and a group of TVA hunters traveled to 1549 to investigate one of the attacks against the TVA. Having encountered a boy who witnessed the attack, Mobius asked him about his teeth, which were tinted blue. He then handed Mobius a pack of blueberry-flavored kablooey. Kablooey gum was a piece of evidence proving that a Nexus event had occurred in 1549. Mobius then combined two variables, the location of the apocalypse and the candy where the kablooey branded candy was only sold from 2047 to 2051. Then they had to find an apocalypse event between the 2 years, and as a result they found an apocalypse event in Alabama in 2050. Mobius then went straight to Ravana to ask for permission. Of course Ravana refused. Moreover, this theory is from Loki, which is a variant that should be wiped out. But with confidence, Mobius was able to convince Ravana, and the mission towards Alabama 2050 then began. Mobius then gives Loki his iconic weapon. But it's a pity that the leader of the Minutemen forbade it. Without waiting any longer, they then started the briefing. The destination this time is a mall called Roxxxcar, a giant supermarket that is famous in 2050. This place is used as a location to evacuate residents during the Hurricane Apocalypse Category Level 10. They eventually headed to the location. Loki used his magic to dry clothes quickly. Eventually the team had to be divided into two. Originally, Mobius wanted to be in a team with Loki, but the leader of the Minutemen chose to want to be with Loki so that he could supervise him directly. Then a search for variants is carried out. But unexpectedly the variant was monitoring their arrival secretly in the CCTV room. He also turned on the countdown time clock that looked mysterious. When Loki and the leader of the Minutemen conduct a search, they are surprised by a man who claims to be looking for plants. Feeling suspicious, the leader approached him and the man touched him and then suddenly fainted, and the variant had already moved to the body of the squad leader, so that now his mind was controlled by the variant. On the other hand, Mobius finds a C-20 who looks depressed and frightened. The woman claimed to have revealed where the timekeepers were located and how to find them. Then halfway through, the variant moved again from the leader of the Minutemen into the body of the clerk from the supermarket. Loki offers cooperation to jointly destroy TVA and also timekeepers. But the offer was rejected by the variant. He said he was not interested in mastering the time variant's authority. The variant moved once again and possessed in the body of a big man, the man immediately beating Loki to the point of overwhelming and battered. Eventually it showed its true face. She is the female version of Loki, aka Lady Loki. At the same time the countdown time clock is over. It can be seen that many timeline reset bombs are lit up one by one. The bomb was then sent to various places and times to explode there. It can be seen that the branching of the timeline is starting to happen, panicking TVA workers how to deal with this mess. While Lady Loki left the place with Loki, who followed her, leaving behind Mobius and the TVA agents. The episode is finished by leaving a question mark. How will the story continue in the next episode 3?